All right, there we go. I think it's recording. Here we go, episode 51, back to normal-ish. No more ranking lists, no more arguing about games from last year. That's in the past. Okay, we've already decided the best games, the definitive
Literally.
list that no one can argue with. And so yeah, don't worry about that. We're now going to talk about current games, current news. I'm excited to get back to it. My name's Tim. I'm here with Dan and Derek. Thank you again to Jeff and Kyle for joining us for the last month to do all those episodes. You guys are awesome. But how are you two doing?
Well, Derek looks like a little baby, just all wrapped up. What's the word? Swaddled or
Yes.
Right? Swaddled. Yeah, he looks like
Very
a swaddled little baby.
Yeah.
He is clothed. I did ask him. I mean, he could be lying, but
I'm not lying. I got my Go Blue.
well, that doesn't mean there's no bottoms.
That's true. He could be wearing no bottoms.
That's been an issue in the past. So.
I still remember to this day when there was an Air Force recruiter that came to our door, and one of our twins answered the door wearing just a T-shirt. That was it. That's all I had. And this guy in full uniform was like, "Oh, is your mom home, buddy?"
Whoops.
Yeah. That was something else. All right, well, let's talk about some recent news. I'm sure there's a lot of headlines that I'm missing. We've tried to cover them throughout our Game of the Year chats. We tried to squeeze in some headlines here and there, so we don't have to talk about everything. I think we covered some of the big stuff, like the announcement of Resident Evil. We talked about that. But the good news is that game comes out relatively soon, so we'll be able to take a deep dive on that game when it does come out. But there was something I wanted to call out before we get into the Nintendo Direct response, and that was the Mortal Kombat movie trailer was released.
Yes.
And I saw some comment like, "Hey, this looks good for a low-budget movie." So then I was really curious, like, "Oh, I better check this out." So
I think that was
watched
Kyle,
the trailer.
actually.
So I watched the trailer, and I mean, it's Warner Brothers, it's New Line Cinema. I'm like, how? This doesn't look like it has a low budget. It just looks like it's a different style. But
It just
maybe I
doesn't look
missed
like it has an Avengers budget, but I mean, you know, what? How many movies do?
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that's yeah.
I don't know what Kyle's scale is here.
Yeah.
Or,
I imagine they were able to spend a good amount.
I do think it is low budget
comparatively to other New Line and WB movies. That could be true. Regardless, I watched it as a non-Mortal Kombat mega fan. Like, I think the games are fine. There's not my thing. But I did think that the trailer was entertaining. This looks like it's going to be a completely bloody, gory, entertaining mess. Just like the original one was, but now it looks modernized, and hopefully the special effects for Goro will be much better this time, it looked like, in that little shot we saw of him.
Dude, Goro back in the 90s looked fantastic. I don't know.
Well, okay, you're right.
Looked
back
fantastic.
in the 90s, he did. But if you rewatch that movie now, it's like, oh my word, this looks...
That nut shot is just visceral. It's real. It's,
But what did you guys think? You guys are bigger Mortal Kombat fans, especially you, Derek. Well, let's start with you. What did you think about the trailer? Or did you watch the trailer?
I did watch it. I actually watched it like 2 or 3 times and then watched like 2 or 3 reviews of the trailer.
Yeah.
So overall, I liked it. I do see the low budget. I'm not saying like the special effects or anything are terrible, but you can just tell by like some of the cast decisions. They didn't go like high profile. There's some guys you recognize, but for the most part, it's a lot of no names. Yep. Or people that you've seen maybe in a show before, but not actually like movie stars or whatever. So clearly it is lower budget, but I think what I liked is, what did we have? 2 Mortal Kombat films before. The first one was decent. Like, it was a decent, especially for a video game movie. Oh, yeah. They did really well. Especially,
it was fun. That was a fun movie.
The second
special effects aside, it's still a fun movie.
The second one, I don't know if I've watched it after watching it in the theaters.
It was bad.
It was bad.
Yeah.
That's all I remember. And I enjoyed it just because I'm a fan. Like, pretty much, This could be the worst movie, and I'll probably still like it. But anyways, the point I was trying to make is the first 2 movies were very PG-13, very clean. And that was always, even me when I was younger, I was like, this isn't Mortal Kombat. And also, part of me goes, well, how do you do fatalities in a movie? Because, yes, now they have the licensing and the ability to do fatalities and have all the gore and stuff, which they did like a little quick fatality little reel at the end. But if you notice, if you look, I don't think any of those fatalities are being done to any of the actual Mortal Kombat guys. So
Right.
that was
Yeah.
always my thing: is how do you do fatalities? Because in a video game, you just reload and that character's back. In a movie, if you were to do an actual fatality like Scorpion fatality Sub-Zero, Sub-Zero can't come back. So
Right.
that was my thing, that it makes it difficult making this game, and one of the main things, and putting it in the movie but doing it in a way where it still feels like it's part of the game. So I'm interested in how they're going to do it. Obviously my thought is they're going to fatality a lot of like no names,
Yeah.
hence maybe the main dude who's not really a Mortal Kombat character, he's not in any of the games, the main guy now, the new guy, he might get fatality. They might be
I don't-
trying to set it up
No,
like,
I think
hey,
he's going to be our babyface hero who makes it to the end, I think.
yeah, and then he gets fatality. I do think.
I think there's some theories going around. And I think it's actually the complete opposite of that. So like obviously this looks like cheesy, not 90s cheesy, but there's still a little bit of cheese, just a little bit of
Oh,
cheese.
yeah.
But it's still
yeah,
way better than.
Oh
what
no,
we-
for sure. But so like, and I kind of like, I don't know if it's just me looking into the trailer too much, and I love Mortal Kombat, so like I was like, ooh, fun theories.
Mhm.
I'm thinking, so in the trailer, real quick, if you've seen the trailer, when he's looking in the mirror and then real fast, like it flashes, it's clearly Scorpion. The Scorpion
Yeah.
that's in this movie, it's real fast. And then immediately the next scene that it shifts to is like the actual guy, like Scorpion, just not with the costume, like prior to then donning the.
Yeah,
the
I noticed
outfit.
that too.
In
And I
his
love that
village.
actor too, by the way.
Yeah, in his village, like fighting off some dudes. So I think in some way, shape, or form, Cole is connected to Scorpion. Whether he's like his grandson or connected to someone in that clan. And I think he's going to be the future Scorpion, like new Scorpion.
He could be, well.
Yeah, it could be a thing where they say, "Oh, there's a mantle called Scorpion," and you
He
pick
could
like,
be-
Black Panther.
I will say this: one of the things I watched was IGN allowed the director to like go over the trailer. So
Okay.
he was watching the trailer and then explaining it. And one of the things I noticed and picked up on that he kept saying was, when he would talk about Sub-Zero, he's like, this is the bad Sub-Zero.
Well, right, because
So-
there's multiple Sub-Zeros.
So there's going to be multiple Sub-Zeros, so that could be another thing. Maybe they flash Scorpion after they showed him, because maybe he's going to be the good Sub-Zero. You never know what they're going to do.
Could it be like a multi-dimension thing, which allows for fatalities on all the major characters because there's like multiple versions of them? Could be something like that, maybe.
And they could do that.
Spoiler
Now they
alert.
would make it special. They'd make it like towards the end of the movie in an actual tournament. Hey,
Yeah.
we can kill off this Scorpion because
Because there's another Scorpion.
Scorpion's going to come or whatever.
Something like
Well-
they could do anything like that if they wanted to.
Well, all the like actual Mortal Kombat lore, like in the later games when they kind of try to like flesh it out and like not have it just be like corny. There is a whole thing with like, I mean, there's always been the thing with Sub-Zero and Scorpion, but like I might have it mixed up, but it's one of them like kills pretty much most of the entire clan, and then the other one wants to go after the other one and avenge. I think it's Scorpion wants to go after the bad Sub-Zero, and then he dies, and that's when he becomes kind of like Hell Scorpion, where he's kind of almost looks like kind of like a demon, like Demon Scorpion. I think that's when he then becomes like Demon Scorpion, and then that's when he, I think, kills Sub-Zero, and then Sub-Zero, spoiler alert, the first Sub-Zero becomes Noob Saibot. That's who Noob Saibot is. He's actually the first Sub-Zero. And then there's the second Sub-Zero, which is like his brother, I think, or either brother or cousin. It's his brother, yeah. So
There's
I think
some cool lore they could pull from
Yeah.
for the storyline. That could be fun.
so. I'm excited.
I thought it
So
looked. I thought it
they
looked
are
entertaining.
they are from the director. They are trying to stick to the story, but they are also
Yeah,
making some. For instance, they even show you in the trailer. They showed Jax getting his arms ripped off. Ermac is actually the one that rips Jax's arms off, but in the
Yeah.
trailer, Sub-Zero is clearly freezing his arms, and then they
Yeah, it's not so much ripping as just shattering.
yeah, he shattered.
Pretty rough.
a little
Pretty
bit, a little bit.
Yeah. Yep. I thought it looked really entertaining. Of course, this comes out. I think is this HBO Max or is this just
Yeah.
theaters?
It's
Max.
both April 16th.
Well, then I'll be watching it because it's on HBO Max, and that's actually a service that I've really been enjoying a lot. Just started that Denzel Washington movie before it goes away, The Little Things, and I'm already really intrigued. I started it last night, a little too late, so I turned it off. I haven't finished it yet. But anyway, I'm digging HBO Max. So next month we've got Kong and Godzilla, and then the month after that we've got Mortal Kombat. I mean, they're doing a good job keeping me hooked on that platform. Anyway, I thought it looked like a fun movie. This will be an interesting and overly violent one, but it'd be interesting if they pull in some of the lore that you guys have both always told me about with the newer Mortal Kombat games, how they've really introduced some interesting storytelling. So who knows? It could surprise. It could just be like a cheesy, violent beat 'em up, whatever. Who cares? It's just fun, and it also could surprise us. So we'll see what happens. There wasn't a ton of other news, although Dan, I saw that you added something about drift on the DualSense. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I unfortunately didn't get specifics because that's all I jotted down. It was while I was working, and then I forgot to go back to it. But apparently people are reporting there's controller drift, much like with the Joy-Cons is happening with the DualSense. So that's not not good.
I think they're taking legal action against them.
I saw some articles that were like, "Oh, this controller drift, and it's only going to get worse." And it showed like a component in the controller, so it's like great. So they built the controller a certain way where that's I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with this generation. I don't know if that's happening or has happened with any Xbox controllers, but it
Dude,
seems...
my 360 controllers have been through the ringer, and they still work pretty great. I mean, they've been chewed on by babies and thrown down steps, and like they had stuff spilled on them, and for the most part, I've got 4 of them that still work pretty well. Even though they're all dinged up and marked up and stuff, they still work
I
really
just think it's as we... Like, I think sometimes gamers simplify it with, like, as generations go on, things should be getting better, but they forget that they're adding more tech, and that's
getting more complex.
Most of the time, what they focus on is making it more complex, adding more tech to make the controllers better. But there are certain things, because they're making them more complex, that makes it easier to break. I'm not making an excuse for drift. I don't.
Have either of you had any issues?
I haven't, but I did see somebody, I think they were in Beyond, post a video where they were literally holding the controller and not even touching the stick, and the screen's just moving like they're touching the stick and moving the menu. And I was like, holy crap, you got it bad. So...
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to test these things, right? I mean, I would imagine they do test them, but I mean...
Yeah, but it's wear and tear over time.
Yeah,
Plus, some people are real hard on their controllers, other people aren't. Some controllers are just faulty, others aren't.
Some people throw their controllers. Like,
there's a lot of variables.
So
it's true. There are certain games where I feel like I played the game with much more intensity. Like if I'm playing Rocket League, I'm squeezing that controller real tight, and I'm like moving it, like I don't know, I just play it more intensely.
You're like moving in the direction that you kick the ball.
I don't mean to. My wife is always like, when you play this game, I can't even sit on the couch with you while you play this game. I'm like, well,
my wife has said that she hates watching me play Rocket League. It's the most stressful that like of any game that she watches me play, just because like I actually do get a little like kind of like, I don't tend to get all like, oh, what the hell, but like sometimes
that game will do it.
Yeah,
that game will do it. All right, well, let's talk about the Nintendo Direct. So Nintendo this week, I think it was on Tuesday, announced that there's going to be a Nintendo Direct, and they didn't say mini, they didn't say partner showcase. It was a Nintendo Direct that's going to feature Super Smash Brothers and several games coming to Nintendo Switch in the first half of 2021. About 50 minutes or so of content is what they promised. So on Tuesday, listen, I'll be honest, Tim allowed his imagination to run wild and got super overhyped. I was like, dude, we haven't... Okay, here's why, though. We haven't heard a full-on Direct from Nintendo since September of 2019. I had to look back and see. That was the last time we got a full Nintendo Direct. They skipped all of 2020. And some people were like, well, there was a pandemic. I know, but they're working on stuff. So it was just, to me, that was crazy. It's been that long. So I'm thinking, all right, finally, all this time has passed. We're about to get hit with some stuff. This is going to be amazing. So, to spoiler alert, we'll go through some of the announcements here. There's some things that I think are interesting, but overall, when that thing wrapped up, he said, this is the last game we're going to show. And then that game was revealed. I was just like, this is so dumb.
So Tim, real quick, so on a scale of 1 to 10, how mad actually were you?
Like for real mad?
Yeah, like, or like upset, or whatever. Disappointed.
I don't know, like a 5. Like it was
All right.
like I was legitimately annoyed. I wasn't mad. It was more like I'm really annoyed that
I want to call this episode Tim was mad at Nintendo. So if you want to get mad, please get mad. Because I
well,
want to call this episode Tim is mad at Nintendo. So
I really was angry because I was just like, what have you been doing? Like you're not a small company. You've got tons of studios. What have you been doing for a year and a half? You put out
What are you doing?
You put out Paper Mario, and then upcoming we've got a Pokemon Snap, and then a bunch of Wii U ports. Like
which
ports.
Which Pokemon Snap is not even Nintendo like proper.
Dude, I'm
no.
I'm legitimately confounded as to how they're spending their time. Are they having their people do any work, or was the pandemic vacation for them? Like I'm really not sure what they're doing. Where is any kind of update on Metroid? They told us they were rebooting the Metroid efforts. Like it's been almost 2 years now, right? Since they told us that, maybe a year and a half.
Yeah.
Bayonetta,
like
the same thing. I mean, they told us like, hey, it's going to be a while again. You know, the Breath of the Wild 2, and he even popped up. What's his name? Sorry, blank on his name.
Is it Aonuma or Aonuma?
He popped up and was like, I know when you saw me, you thought you'd hear about the sequel to Breath of the Wild. And I'm sorry to disappoint you, but instead I'm going to show you this. And it's like,
he bowed.
Okay, all right. So it's that's what frustrated me more is that Nintendo knows we want the big stuff, but instead of that, we're going to give you honestly, and I know this is the theme because I said about something else last week too. It's just we're gonna give you some half-assed ports and charge you $60 for it. That's what I saw when I saw Skyward Sword. When they showed the trailer for Skyward Sword, I'll jump ahead a little bit here to one of the big reveals that I am at least somewhat interested in because I never played it. I was not impressed. Like I didn't think the visuals looked that great. Like to me, it still looked how I remember the Wii game looking. I'm sure that side by side, it's higher definition and it probably looks better. Fine, but it still doesn't look that amazing. And Derek and I were talking about this. The colors seem very muted. It just looks very boring and dull. And I'm sure it's fun. But then they described the controls, so you can use the Joy-Con like you did with the Wii Plus remotes back in the day. That was a big thing, right? With a little attachment on your Wii nunchuck. Remember those?
Yep.
So it's supposed to be like 1-to-1 ratio with your sword and shield. And now you can do that with your Joy-Con if you want to. Or we have a control style if you're using handheld mode. So I was like, okay, sweet. But then they described what that was. Did you guys see their description of that?
Yeah.
It's you use the right stick to swing.
Right.
And you point it in the direction you want to swing. And immediately I was like, I don't think I'm going to like this either. Like, I don't think I'm going to enjoy that.
So I just wanted them to
give me standard Zelda controls.
Yeah,
but that's the thing. I never so this is the only Zelda game, mainline Zelda game I actually never played, like at all. I never played it. So the way the game is designed, that's not possible. They'd have to completely redo the combat, I think, because it was the Wii controls, like. It was the whole gimmick of like, oh, here's a piece of wood, so I'm slicing down and it cuts right in half. Or
they built the combat around your angle of swinging and all that stuff, right?
So I don't think you could do that by simply pressing a face button, because then it's like, how does it know which direction you want to slice?
Right. Whereas other games are more about dodging and hopping and getting to the side and attacking or parrying. This game is all about the direction of your swing, and so I do understand that. Doesn't make me any less.
Oh yeah, no, I know.
Because when I should have, if all I knew was that, hey, Skyward Sword was announced, I'd be excited just to hear that.
Yeah.
But as I watched it, the visuals didn't blow me away. I immediately thought, well, they shouldn't change or charge full for this, right? Because this looks like a nice coat of HD polish over the existing game. It does not look like a remake by any stretch.
It's not, yeah, no.
And it's $60.
Of course.
So, I don't know, man. That was to me one of the best announcements that they had, and I was very.
People have a problem with them doing that, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Everybody's gonna buy it. Like it doesn't stop anybody.
No,
like,
I'm not. See, that's the thing. I'm not mad at folks
people
who
that
buy
legitimately complain about it are people that were never gonna buy it anyways because they probably don't have a Switch or they don't like Zelda. But the people that like Zelda and have a Switch, even if they say something, they're still going to pay the $60.
Derek, you know how I know that you're right? Is that I'm probably also going to buy it. So I'm part of the problem. Here's the thing. I'm not mad at folks who will spend that money because they love Zelda so much. I'm in that same camp. I love Zelda that much. I think unless this thing comes out and just gets blasted by reviews on how bad the new control scheme is, and I don't think that'll happen. I think it'll work. I'm probably going to end up buying it. So I'm irritated with Nintendo, not with fans who love it and are willing to spend extra. Like I get that part of it. But let's go through some of the announcements and kind of where. I mean, honestly, it felt like my hope was a balloon, and someone was slowly letting the air out of it throughout the entire thing. And then when it got to the final game they announced, it was like that moment when you just squeeze out the last bit of air and it makes a fart noise out of the balloon. That's what it felt like.
There was a ray of hope, though, and it came in the form of a triangle, Tim.
It did. Let's get to that one in a second. I did think that looked pretty cool. So they did announce the new Super Smash character. That's Xenoblade's Pyra and Mithra. It was again a big. I don't think red herring is the right word, but it was misleading.
Bait and switch.
Bait and switch. Thank you, because I'm thinking, oh, they're kicking this off with Xenoblade Chronicles 3. Whoa! Like that's
DLC
honestly that's where my mind went right away, because I thought the Smash character announcement would be later in the show, but turns out that was just their announcement of Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade being in Smash, which is fine. But as soon as I saw that, I was like, ugh. Look, I know people love their Smash, but that game is over 2 years old. It's never been my favorite, so it was already off to a little bit of a rough start. Yeah,
I've never cared about Smash.
It was already off to a little bit of a rough start. Then they announced a couple of ports that are coming over. Fall Guys and Outer Wilds both coming this summer. Then they talked about these 2 mystery story games, the Famicon Detective Club. These actually look like, for folks who like that genre of like mystery narrative storytelling, they could be interesting. Didn't really do anything for me. But those are coming out on May 14th.
Those are cool, though, because they're actually, I think the year was 1988. So they're actually, it's almost like remakes of like the actual, like Nintendo. Like these are Nintendo or Famicom in Japan, like remakes of old kind of that style of game. So that's cool.
I mean, there's some cool retro. Again, if these were window dressings on an amazing show, I would not be downplaying it so much. But these were some of the major announcements.
Yeah.
Samurai Warriors 5 is coming out this summer, probably to everything, but definitely to Switch. I did think that Legend of Mana, the remastered version, looked kind of cool. It had. Everyone's trying to take little bits and pieces of the Octopath Traveler visuals where you've got really sharp, high-res, pixelated graphics. But again, I don't know if that's something I'm going to buy.
I'm very excited about this. So this was actually a PlayStation 1 game, and I never got around to playing it. So
it looks really sharp, doesn't it? Like it looks like that. So those graphics, but up-resed.
That is more or less the original art style. Obviously, it just looks sharper, but I'm pretty sure the backgrounds back then were also hand drawn, and then the characters were pixelated.
It's got a cool look to it. Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to actually play that, because
June's going to be a busy month for again nothing major from Nintendo, but a lot of relatively notable games, let's call them, that are coming out in June. So that's June 24th. Monster Hunter Rise trailer showed off a bunch of new and returning monsters, a little bit of story of what's happening. I'm still excited for that game, even though it's not a first-party Nintendo game. I think that's going to be one of the highlights for me for 2021 on the Switch, unless we get a holiday surprise of some kind. But that game looks great, and I'm glad
it's going to sell bananas.
Yeah, it's gonna do really well, and I'm excited to play it. I think I'm going to put a lot of time into Monster Hunter Rise. Mario Golf Super Rush.
Yeah.
So, and I wrote this note down because my first thought when I saw it was like, is this a 3DS port? Because the 3DS golf game was pretty good looking for a 3DS game, and it played well and it was fun. I liked that game. Didn't love it, but I liked it. And then as soon as I saw this, I thought, this looks just like the 3DS. Is this? I kind of like even leaned into my screen. I was like, this doesn't look that amazing. So I started to wonder. Yeah, I didn't think it looked.
I thought it looked really nice. Not like it didn't blow my mind. Like it wasn't like Mario Odyssey
or even Mario
nice,
Kart.
But yeah,
or even Mario Tennis. I thought looked better. And Derek might be right. Maybe for me, my first impression of a game is really, especially a Mario game. Maybe I am looking for hit me with the bright colors and crazy lighting, and I just didn't feel like it did that. I felt like it was a little subdued. But Mario Golf games are always fun, and they're reintroducing story mode, which if you played the Game Boy Advance Mario Golf, you know that had a really awesome RPG element to it where you're playing with Mario characters, but you also are controlling your own avatar and you're leveling up and you're getting more equipment. So that part got me like, okay, that might be a good summer game where you're doing some golf RPGing. That could be fun.
Can we discuss
and they do have Joy-Con controls for that too if you want to swing in your living room.
Okay. I thought you were skipping over the best part of the trailer. Please continue.
Well, you go ahead. What was the best part of the trailer for you?
I mean,
because it looks fun, but what was that?
Speed golf.
Yeah.
That looks hilarious.
Yeah, it reminded me of like a couch co-op party style. approach to it, which
Yeah,
could be.
but it's just like there's like power ups and like you're like literally just trying to like golf as fast as you can. Like you're literally like you're like bashing into the other players, like depending on what power ups you have. Like that just looks like a fun concept on what is relatively to me a very boring sport. So
Yeah. Yeah. I think the folks over there who create Mario sports games do a pretty good job of adding some fun party layers into most of their sports games. So I think that'll be fun. That's June 25th. So there's another game. So Legend of Mana and Mario Golf coming out in June. Tales from the Borderlands, the full series, coming out on March 24th to the Switch. I'm assuming that the other Telltale games have sold well on Switch. They go on sale all the time on the eShop. The other ones that have arrived there, like the Batman game, I think. And I think Walking Dead's there too, maybe. Capcom Arcade Stadium. So I downloaded this and I tried out the free Ghost and Goblins arcade game that you can play. You can get that one for free. And this is kind of a cool idea. This is just for retro gamers. So if you were big into arcades back in the day and you love all the old Atari and original NES stuff like this is cool, where you download for free like the quote-unquote cabinet, and then you can pay for the games you want to install into it. So you've got the arcade, and you can decide which game packs you want to buy. I think it's kind of an interesting way to do this.
I like the look of it.
I think it looks really cool. It's a nice
like the cabinets, like actually shifting from each cabinet. Like, yeah,
it is cool.
Yeah.
Again, that's good for RPG, for arcade nostalgic folks. Stubbs the Zombie and Rebel Without a Pulse. So I had to keep looking this one up, and you guys correct me if I'm wrong. Derek, you know OG Xbox better than I do. I thought this, to me, I assumed this was a sequel, and from what I've looked up, it looks like it is a sequel, not a port of that old game, right? Or am I wrong? Is this a port of that old game?
Oh, I thought it was.
I don't know. I don't even know what game you're talking about.
Stubbs the Zombie?
That's because you're half asleep.
No, I know. Oh, okay. I didn't watch anything on that one.
So
I mean, I only watched Zelda. I didn't watch anything else.
You're right, Dan. It is a 2005 Xbox game.
Okay. I knew it was Xbox, but I didn't know if there was more than one. I thought it was just the first one, so.
Okay. Well, that does help ease the visual pain that I experienced watching that trailer a little bit, knowing that it's an old game being brought over.
Sure.
It does not look good. But it comes out March 16th, so I guess if you played the Xbox one, then you know what it's supposed to look like, and that's what it looks like. No More Heroes 3 looks just as wacky as ever, and it finally has a release date, and that's August 27th.
People still play these games?
Apparently. It's very niche, or however you want to pronounce it.
I'm going to say niche.
Niche? Okay.
Yeah.
I say niche.
August seems to be, for the Switch, that's their niche month. That's when they put out stuff like the Astral Chain, or the Daemon X Machina, or Mario vs. Rabbids, and now No More Heroes 3. That's just kind of their experiment month, it seems like.
I like the drawings that they have, like kind of just the artwork of the game, and I like the cutscenes. I think those actually look decent, but like the actual shots of gameplay that they were showing in that trailer, I was like, what is going on? Why does this look like this?
Why does it look like an old early 90s Final Fantasy turn-based game, but now it looks like an arcade game, and now it looks like an action game, like Samurai Warriors.
But I mean, like everything like looked almost like choppy and pixel, like it almost like it was buffering, like it just looked weird. Like I don't know.
This one's not doing much for me, but for folks who are excited for it, it does come out on August 27th. Neon White kind of reminded me of Ghost Runner if everything was like super
like a shooter.
Yeah, it's a little more shootery than Ghost Runner was, right? But
it's cards. It's very weird.
It is very strange. There's lots of like parkour where you're running and jumping and stuff, and then you're shooting. I don't know. It could be all right. We'll see. I'm gonna guess that it won't be great though. You know, the next one gave me some nostalgia for back in the day when they used to make a video game for every TV show and movie. And that was DC Superhero Girls Teen Power. Reminded me of like every PlayStation 2 and original Xbox, GameCube. When Activision or whoever would put out some kind of generic 3D action adventure game based on whatever movie. But that's what that one looks like. That's June 4th. Plants vs. Zombies Battle for Neighborville's coming out March 19th. That's the only thing that my kids cared about, because I told them some of the stuff that's coming. And they do love the Plants vs. Zombies games. And then I made a note because I literally thought this out loud. Halfway through the show, roughly, I looked at the clock. It was like 25 minutes in, and I actually wondered very purposefully, Nintendo, why do you hate me? Because we're halfway through the show, and there's nothing that I'm excited about.
Sure.
Why do you hate me so much?
Sure.
But then I kind of like took a breath and I was like, there's going to be some good stuff coming up. And boy, was I right, because next up we had Mitopia. Mitopia is the grand RPG adventure featuring Mii characters. And don't worry, guys, they look exactly the same as they did 12 years ago on the Wii.
Derek, please settle down. You're acting too excited. All right, calm down, please.
I didn't know it was an RPG. I might actually buy it.
It's got tons of customization. It kind of reminds me of the vibe of like Costume Quest, that very simplistic RPG approach. I just hated it so much. It's coming out on May 21st, and I watched that trailer just like, this looks so stupid.
This looks like something that needed to come out when the system launched, and it needed to be like $20
or free. I'm with you.
Or yeah, 20 at the most.
Yeah,
but like should be free.
But no, this is into year 4, right? This will be after their 3rd anniversary of releasing, so it'll be in their 4th year of the system being out, and it's $50.
Yep.
So good luck with that if you guys are excited for that.
Please be excited.
I'm not try-hard enough to like that one. I'm sorry. I am a try-hard, but not that much of a try-hard. Animal Crossing's getting some Super Mario themed items on March 1st.
Finally.
Which looks whatever. Looks like Animal Crossing.
I'm super into the warp pipe though. I think that's actually really cool.
Where you can kind of move around your island a bit.
Yeah, you could put the warp pipe like in one corner and then the other one all the way on the other side. So I think that's kind of cool just for traversal purposes. But you know.
Yeah, so that update should be available to download now, and then the items should show up. Or no, the update's available next week, but then the items should start showing up as soon as you get to March. Project Triangle Strategy.
Yes.
I mean, leave it to Square to come up with the weirdest name. I remember when they announced Project Octopath, or what was that? What it was called?
It was Octopath Traveler. Yeah.
Was that what it was called? Okay.
It was either Project Octopath or Project Octopath Traveler, which the game ended up being called Octopath Traveler. So.
Yeah. Okay. So this could probably end up being called Triangle Strategy, but it's this turn-based strategy RPG. I loved the visuals on this too, just like Octopath Traveler. And
it's got to be the same engine.
Yeah. It's got to be the same engine. It looks really cool. It's a turn-based, grid-based strategy RPG where I'm assuming there's a job system of some kind. Move your characters around on a grid, position them for the best attack possible. And they made a big deal about the decision-making. What do you think about that? They really talked about that a lot.
So I really, really liked Octopath Traveler, but I didn't like the way the game was structured. So much so that I didn't even actually end up finishing the game. Plus, I think something else just kind of distracted me, so then I started playing that. But it just the way that it was sort of broken up into chapters, there was no cohesiveness between it. It was just kind of like, oh, you're playing this chapter for this character, but then you go to this character and you're playing that chapter, and then it was just very disorienting. I don't know. So I like that this one maybe potentially seems like there's like a through line. It's just kind of like, here's the characters, here's the story, and then you're making choices that depending on what kind of choices you make, certain characters will join your cause, some will not.
And you aren't gonna know. It's not gonna tell you.
Yeah.
Pick this and they'll join you. Like that'll be shaped along the way.
Yeah, and then there's an actual there's like this scale up on like this altar, and then like there's certain like things that you do that will shift like sort of the aspect of like if there was like one cutscene that they were showing where I think it was like something about a king or somebody that they're like saying, should we kidnap this king or not kidnap this, something along the lines of that.
Do you remember what the 3 things were? Like every decision you make, and it plays into comes into play in the battle too, but they're clearly going really strong into this approach, this the triangle approach, right?
Yeah.
Where not only with the strategy piece, but I'm assuming they'll have some kind of swords beat axes, beat spears, beat swords, or something like that.
Well, I think the triangle thing just more plays into like the decisions that you're making outside of battle. Yeah, will then affect like how like, a fight might be harder, you know.
So you could I think it was like liberty, morality,
utility, or
I think utility might have been the other one. Yeah. It was kind of cool. The idea is that your decisions will essentially make you this type of leader. You're utilitarian, or you're all about liberty, or whatever it is. And that means you're going to sacrifice these other things, and it's gonna. Anyway, that was all kind of interesting story-wise to me. I liked that. I like the setting too, and I know that you're all about that medieval fantasy setting.
What do you think of the combat? I think there was actually, it looks very, I mean, tactical RPGs tend to be complex. I liked in this one how like I like the elemental stuff, kind of like with Genshin Impact. How like if you do like one element, it can affect another element. Like it showed like setting fire to like this ice, and then there's like water on the ground, and then the mage does lightning on the water, and then it shocks everybody in that area. Like
that actually reminded me a little bit of Suikoden 2, where without even realizing it, I would sometimes do these amazing magic combos, not realizing that, because I didn't really look stuff up. You just kind of played, and not realizing that, hey, by doing wind and fire and I don't know, ice at the same time, I created some amazing magic combo attack. It reminded me of that a little bit, where there's some cool combinations you can do. I think it looks interesting. There's a demo out now. I do have it downloaded. I have not played it yet.
Yeah, me too.
It just aired yesterday, so I haven't had time to try it. But I am going to try it out. And I do like that Square's doing this. They've done it with Bravely Default 2. They did it with Octopath Traveler. And other companies do it too, not just Square. And I like this. It's put out the demo, and then they'll ask you for your feedback on a survey at some point. So it's cool. The demo's out now if you want to try it. I'm going to fly through a couple of these really quick to get to one that I know that Derek will at least be somewhat interested in, although probably not on the Switch. Star Wars Hunters is a free-to-play game coming this year. Knockout City looks like Fortnite plus Dodgeball. It comes out on May 21st.
Can just real second for 1 second with that knockout that dodgeball game. So that actually legitimately looked kind of fun, right?
Yeah.
Like I mean, like if it was like a PlayStation Plus game, it'd be like, oh, I'll definitely try that. That looks kind of fun.
Yeah,
for like a day or two.
I got real strong Fortnite vibes. I actually thought it was a Fortnite update when I saw the trailer at first.
What the hell was the point of all of that stuff going on outside of the game?
I don't know. All the characters that were playing it.
Like it had nothing to do, literally zero to do with the actual game.
There was like a soldier. There's all these different characters that were playing the game, and they're like, "Oh, it's just one more game." Like I don't know.
It felt like a World of Warcraft commercial. Like But then and then it shifted to the game, and it's like, oh, it's a dodgeball game. Like I don't understand.
I think that the point was probably like, hey, no matter who you are or what your interests are, you'll love this game. That's my guess, but I don't know.
Stupid, Tim.
I don't know. World's End Club is kind of this platforming adventure game. Could be good. I don't know. It depends if the platforming is fun. But the visuals do look pretty cool on World's End Club. Hades is getting a physical release on March 19th. Great game, but I already have it digitally. So, all right. So what about this one, Derek? Are you going to get this, or do you already have it on enough platforms you don't need it? And that's the Ninja Gaiden Master Collection. It's going to include Ninja Gaiden Sigma 1 and 2, and then Ninja Gaiden 3. Are you going to get this on any platform, or have you already played this?
Yeah, I'm going to get it on PC.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's coming to Switch though, which is cool.
Yeah, but I only use my Switch if I have to.
Oh, well, excuse me.
Fair. That's fair. That comes out on June 10th. And Hyrule Warriors is getting an update, and I didn't write down any notes on what that was. I'm already going blank.
That's because it was on the screen for like 5 seconds, but there was literally like paragraphs of information. So
I think there's like a season pass you can get because I rolled out some other updates.
That was just a bad way of unveiling that. That was just, it was bad. Like
yeah, I'm sure if I had paused it and read closely, I could see all the different things they're gonna add. Maybe characters. I don't know. I just didn't do that. So all I know is that you can pay money to them if you want to.
Yeah,
that's all I know for sure.
Pretty much. Yeah.
You can just buy, if you pay $20, you get a paragraph.
Like all that needed to be was like actually show like a couple of things for like even 10 seconds, and then just have that be a press release later. Like it was just dumb.
I mean, I understand so little of it. I'm just gonna put a $20 bill in an envelope and mail it to Nintendo with a little note that just says "Season Pass, please."
Yeah.
I don't know what this
Whatever
is for,
game.
I don't know what's in it, but
I'll take it. They showed another trailer for Bravely Default 2. This game does look really good. It comes out next week. Yeah, so that'll be fun. Also next week is Ghost and Goblins Resurrection, which we knew about. That's also coming out next week.
Since our listeners are going to listen this week, it actually comes out this Friday.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. You're right. This Thursday.
Second demo, by the way, for Bravely Default 2. There's a second
they have like
demo.
an updated demo, which I assume will be the ongoing demo after the game releases, if you want to try it out. Saga Frontier Remastered comes out on April 15th.
Another
Yeah, another kind of retro style, cool looking, but I don't know if it's good or not game.
So this looks backwards as far as like, so the models look like hand drawn, but like weird, and then the backgrounds are kind of like old and fuzzy. Like I'm not feeling what they're doing with that one.
This series has always been weird though.
Yeah.
That series has always been a little strange, both visually and gameplay wise.
Yeah.
Apex Legends is coming to Switch on March 9th, which we talked about last week actually already, because that news they announced that date last week. And then that's when they brought up, and I'm sorry I keep blanking out on his name, the creator of Zelda, who's developing the next Breath of the Wild.
I think it's Aonuma.
Or I'm sorry, the director, the current director of Zelda. He came out and said, "I know when you first saw me, you were expecting news on the Breath of the Wild sequel. Sorry to tell you, we don't have anything to share right now, but we will later this year." It's like, all right. But then that's when they announced Skyward Sword HD, and they do have 2 new Joy-Cons coming out that do look pretty cool with the Zelda Sword and Shield. I've heard that they are impossible to find, even more so than PS5s and Xbox Series
Sounds about
consoles. Right. But yeah, that all drops on July 16th, the new Joy-Cons and that game. And then they did a one more thing moment where I was like, please, Nintendo, give me something. Give me a main event. Give me a headliner. And as soon as they kind of showed a desert scene and then a train. Or no, it wasn't a train yet. A desert scene, and then they zoomed in on someone sitting next to some little creature. And as soon as I saw the yellow hair, I was like, Splatoon. They're doing Splatoon. And it's Splatoon 3. So,
yep.
And it comes out 2022. I didn't even watch the whole trailer because I was so upset.
That's
I don't even know what the difference is between Splatoon 2 and Splatoon 1.
Splatoon is actually very popular. And obviously if you play Splatoon, you would know the differences, but I mean, we don't play Splatoon, so.
I mean, I played the first one, and I was like, oh, this is cool for like 3 seconds.
Dude, I'm with you. I was like, oh, it's a creative idea. This seems like a tech demo that I would try out, but not a game that I would buy and play a lot. Like, I just don't get the interest, and that's fine.
Did Splatoon 2 have a campaign?
Yeah.
It did.
Yeah, I think there was a story mode.
I think the first one had like basically a tutorial type thing.
Yeah.
I think 2 you could do co-op through the story. I can't remember.
They definitely expanded on 2, and it even had DLC, which I think had single player content also, like extra stuff. So
yeah. Yep. So that was their big announcement. So when it was all said and done, I was really annoyed because I just felt like we finally hear from Nintendo in an official capacity. And it felt like, and I do this comparison just because I talked about this a couple weeks ago, among many other things that I'm watching. I also, every once in a while, will dabble in some WWE documentary stuff because I think it's fun to look back at some of the old wrestling stuff. And this reminds me of, I remember we bought a couple pay-per-views in high school. So my buddies and I would put our money in, we'd buy a pay-per-view and get a bunch of food and watch the big show. And I remember there being a few of those when it was over. We're like, we spent money on that? Like, there was no major, like, that was awful.
Yeah.
Like, either the major matchup featured someone who was injured, or like, there was always some kind of something. Sometimes they delivered. Like, certain pay-per-views were amazing, and I love them. But this one felt like you sign up for WrestleMania, you get all your friends together, you got the food, you're ready to watch. And match after match, there's some that are fine, some that are crap, but you're still like, that wasn't too bad. That wasn't too bad as a nice filler match or like a mid-tier matchup. All right, they might be good someday. You know, it reminded me of that. And then you get to the final match, and it's like a matchup you didn't want to see. It's like it's like the women's championship.
Or Stone Cold Steve Austin comes out, right, and he like maybe whacks a dude a couple times and then leaves, and everyone's like, yeah, and it's like he barely did anything.
Yeah, but not even that. It's like Stone Cold comes out as the guest referee for that match. That's what it would be.
Or that.
It's like awesome. That's great.
Sure.
So I was certainly disappointed with this direct, but it doesn't mean that there's nothing coming to Switch that I will buy and probably enjoy. It just means that this to me is starting to look like this year, starting to look just like 2020, and that there's going to be a few surprises here and there that I enjoy and reasons to play my Switch, but not a ton. Like, most of my hype is going to completely be on my PC, and I recently purchased PS5, everybody. Update. Here's my Sony news, is I was finally able to get through the Best Buy checkout process and buy a PS5. So I can't wait for my DualSense to start drifting. I'm really excited.
Please be excited, Tim.
So I'll say that I will say this. I said this to Tim through text. I don't even know if I bought anything on the Switch last year. I haven't used my Switch in a while. Well, until Mario came out. But I actually think this year so far is pretty decent. Like I'm already gonna be playing. Well, I'm already playing Mario. I've got Bravely Default lined up for next week.
So you're actually gonna play that?
Yeah, and then Manhunter, Monster Hunter. I'm planning on buying that. I'm definitely gonna buy Zelda Skyward Sword. And then the only thing I would add on is I posted a video in our group that, and I get that it's rumors, but I really do believe that these rumors are true. I do think Wind Waker, at least Wind Waker, but probably also
Twilight. Yeah.
Twilight are both going to come over. Like, it only makes sense if they're going to take the time to announce Skyward Sword, which I understand they had never released it, but they still had to modify the game a bit, high def it, change the controls a little bit, and bring it. Why would they not, especially this being Nintendo, who likes to take shortcuts, why would they not bring the Wii U versions that are already high def, already redone, and just bring them over to the Switch, which is the better selling platform? And this is the anniversary of Zelda. It only makes sense that they're going to have some announcement later. They're just, I think, spacing it out. Like with Zelda Skyward Sword coming out in the summer, Breath of the Wild 2 is probably not going to make it this year.
Probably.
It might have.
I'd be shocked if it comes out this year. Yeah.
But I doubt it's going to make it this year. I have a feeling they're at least one of their major fall games is going to be Twilight Princess or Wind Waker, or they're going to do. I doubt it because they're going to get $60 each.
Yeah,
one.
they're going to. Yeah, yeah.
I was going to say maybe they'll package them together, but I'm like, nope.
No.
That's Nintendo. They're not doing it. But the point is I really believe those games are going to come over.
I wanted to ask you guys like theories. What do you think the deal is with Nintendo? Like, yeah, there was the pandemic last year, but like as far as coming into this year and with this Direct, like what do you think's going on? Like, if you have theories.
I mean, I do think that a lot of their workforce is less productive, like significantly. I think they're just doing less work in the past year than they had in the previous years. I think they're not under the gun to force them to work as much because they are crushing it right now. I mean, Nintendo's always had plenty of money, and now after the last 3 years of Switch sales, they've got even more money than they had before, which is crazy to me. I mean, their DS line helped carry them through the Wii U struggles, and even the end of the Wii life when that was kind of petering out. So they've always had plenty of money, and then now the Switch has just refilled whatever was drained by the Wii U. I mean, it's crazy to me.
Yeah.
So I'm not surprised if I think about it logically and really step back and look at it. It makes sense that they don't have a ton of major first-party games. They're taking their time, and I think in a way that's a good thing. But as a fan of theirs, and I feel like it's been since Fire Emblem, July of 2019, since I've gotten a game that I was like counting down the days till it came out, could not wait. I feel like it's been that long since they've had a game like that. So, and it's probably going to be at least this fall, depending on what comes out, till that happens again, and maybe even.
That was what I was going to say. Is I feel like this is like typical Nintendo. Like, if you look at almost every one of their consoles, because they rely so much on first party, because they're usually underpowered compared to the other consoles, they don't get as much third party support, although we are seeing more with the Switch, but they don't get every third party game. They can't.
No.
They're limited, but they get a hell of a lot more than they did on the Wii U.
Oh,
yeah.
You
know why? Because these third party companies are willing to actually put in the work to make a lesser version of their original masterpiece or whatever you want to call it.
And I wonder, so like Immortals, you make me wonder that now as you're saying that. Like, did Immortals sell better on Switch, do you think, than other consoles?
I doubt it sold better, but it probably made enough profit to give them a reason to continue to support putting. Because Ubisoft's a great example. They always support out the gate. But then they look at how the console is selling. If the console's not selling, and they're obviously looking at the sales of their games, and they're not selling, then they move away from it. And with Nintendo or with the Switch, you're not seeing that as much. So we do have more third-party support. You're getting, to me, the same support. Well, actually, more support even from Nintendo's first party. But my point is the reality is they can't produce 7-8 hits a year from just their first party. They would have to expand their first party studios, which
they do have a lot of teams though.
They do, but I would say they would have to expand it even more. And I think Nintendo is very, very protective of first party. Like, they don't like putting out anything that isn't
high quality,
amazing. Not just high quality, because even their games that aren't amazing are still high quality. Like stuff like Mario Party, all that stuff like where it's just fun games. They're still high quality, but they're not amazing. So for me, I just don't think this is what they normally do. It just looks worse because now we're hitting this lull where they're like, okay, dude, like Tim said, I think it actually is Fire Emblem was the last one I was, besides like re-releases and stuff that I was like excited for.
Right.
And I ended up not even playing that one that much. But
so when I think of a game, I'm like counting down the days. I'm like, oh, dude, it comes out this Wednesday. I'm so excited. And like that night, I'm willing to stay up a little later to play it as soon as it unlocks. It's been since Fire Emblem that I've done that on my Switch. I've done that on other platforms, but
yeah.
Well, yeah. A lot of people, tens of millions last year, did that with Animal Crossing. So that's why.
True.
You know.
Yeah. That's the other thing. A lot of their hits, I probably like maybe a third of the stuff that they produce. The other 2/3 of the stuff they can announce it and I'll be like, I don't care. Or I literally hate it. Like, I get mad that Animal Crossing is even talked about.
You get mad?
I get mad.
Hold on.
On a scale of 1 to 10.
Do you get mad or do you get fussy?
Mad.
You get fussy?
You get fussy. He needs a binky.
Yeah.
You need a binky right now.
Oh my gosh.
But like, my point is I think this is normal for them is all I'm saying.
Yeah,
we're still getting games. It's just not what we want. Like, I don't have a problem with Mario Golf, but I'm not gonna talk up. That's like me talking about Gears Tactics as a relevant first-party game. I'll mention it for Xbox, like, hey, it exists, JP, shut up, it exists. And it's high quality, but it's not something I would say the masses want. Nobody bought an Xbox Series X to play Gears Tactics. Did people buy an Xbox Series X and then play Gears Tactics? Yes. But my point is like, it's not a console seller. It's not that exciting of a game. It's the same thing with Nintendo. They have about a third of what they release. I'm like, yeah, I like that. I'm into that. But the other 2/3, I'm like, I mean, I would play it. I'm sure it's high quality, but I'm not excited.
I'm with you.
Fussy.
Like, I don't love Animal Crossing and Smash like other people do. But that being said, those are system sellers without a doubt. They 100% sell systems.
I love Smash.
And Animal Crossing, I think, sold a lot of systems in 2020. I think there's no doubt about that. Not even just their decorated ones that were Animal Crossing themed. I think just in general, people wanted multiple Switches to play Animal Crossing together. So,
do you guys think maybe possibly also that they're shifting towards the successor to the Switch, like the Switch Pro, and that's why some of this is these lulls, that maybe they're going to be cross-gen games or just on those consoles or on that new kind of upgraded Pro?
So, one of the girls from What's Good's Gaming or whatever, she made a post because they were talking about the new Mario Switch, which I almost bought because I thought it was awesome looking. But she was saying, somebody was asking like, hey, I really want this Switch, but I don't want to buy this, and then the Pro come out. And she basically said, I don't remember what her like insider info was, but some of the like reasoning behind what she was saying was, don't worry about that. The Pro's not coming anytime soon. Like, you've got time. Like, it's going to be
interesting.
a year and a half, 2 years. Like, it's not something Nintendo's going to throw out this winter or even early next year.
It just gets tricky because, like, with the Wii U is in a weird spot where, like, then, like, the next systems were coming out, and the Wii U was even further back, so, like, games couldn't really be ported or weren't getting ported to the Wii U, and, you know, like, what did they get, like, Mass Effect 3 randomly, like, and, like, Batman Arkham City or whatever it was, like, they didn't even get the other ones. It was just like, oh, this game was popular, let's just, put it on.
And a lot of that was what Derek described earlier, where these companies are testing the water, like how will the console sell, and obviously very poorly. And I'm guessing that their software didn't sell super well either.
Yeah. So while the Switch is selling well, it is you know, these newer PS5, Xbox Series X are newer consoles. So as time goes on, like a year or two from now, like it's going to be tricky putting if there's any sort of cross-platform.
Well,
games.
I think in the next couple of years we'll see a Switch Pro.
Yeah. So
I think they're working on it, no doubt about that. I just don't think it's taking away from resources that they would usually use elsewhere. I don't think anything's going to happen in 2021. I'd be very pleasantly surprised, but I would be very surprised if we even hear about it this year, let alone see it.
Oh, yeah, because Breath of the Wild 2 is definitely going to come out on the Switch before it comes out on the Pro.
I think so, too.
They'll release that game before, because, again, you have to remember, while they're going to want to sell the Switch Pro or whatever it is, they already have a bunch of Switches in your hands. They want to keep supporting that and keep selling that because that's what's making them a ton of money.
Yeah, if anything, they would name it something stupid like the new Switch, because they like using words like new.
Switch U.
Super Switch.
Super Switch would actually be pretty nice.
I would buy that. Okay, anyway, let's talk about some games we've been playing before we wrap up for this week. You guys have already mentioned Mario 3D World a little bit. Have you both been playing the latest Wii U port to the Switch?
I did.
What do you think about it? What do you think about it again?
Well, I mean, I think I've said it on the show before that that's one of my favorite Mario games. That actually might be my favorite Mario game. And going back to it and playing it, like the first 4 or 5 areas, not 4 or 5 areas, 4 or 5 levels, I enjoyed it. Like, I really like the level design. I really like the cat suit. I don't know. I find getting the stars addicting in this game, whereas in other Mario games, sometimes I'm like, I got 2 out of 3. I'm good. Whereas this one, I'm like, where's the third one?
Yeah.
So I'll actually go through the level again, like, where's the third one? And some of them are hidden pretty darn good. But overall, I think it's just, I don't know. I like it a lot. It's definitely one of my favorite. I wouldn't say my opinions changed going back and playing it. But it's not that old of a game. I mean, what is it, 4 or 5 years old? It's not that old.
I think it came out in 2014? No. I can't remember when it came out. Someone could look that up for us.
I got it.
Did you play the Bowser's Fury stuff yet?
Have not. I wanted to try to get through the main campaign, but I would like to try the Bowser because that was actually... Oh. I was already going to buy the game, but once I heard about Bowser and like actually watched what it was, I was like, okay, this is pretty cool.
So it's way different. So I played the first... I'm on the World 3 in the main game because I never played the main game. Super charming, really kind of, again, great art style means it's going to look good for several years. So it still looks really nice, both on handheld and on the big screen. So it looks great, and it plays great, and multiplayer is fun. We talked about that a little bit last week. Also, I did try out some of the Bowser's Fury stuff, and it is a much different approach, not just to what I experienced with 3D World, but to all Mario games. It's just new. It's a little bit more of an open area approach.
Like Odyssey.
Yeah, it's more Odyssey-like in some ways. There's a Bowser, this giant Bowser demon version of Bowser that pops up and starts attacking randomly. Got a big old health bar and stuff. I don't know. It's interesting. I think it's cool. Like, I'm not that far into the Bowser's Fury. I only played that for a little while. So I'm going to go back and finish all of the main 3D World game and then do Bowser's Fury. But again, very high quality, really fun. To me, this one's worth $60 because you get not only the port, but you're also getting, I think, a pretty hefty chunk of content with Bowser's Fury.
And again, it's oh, by the way, November 2013 is when it came out, the original
2013,
on Wii.
okay.
So I mean,
Way
what is that?
older than I thought.
Almost 8 years old. They made new content for a game that's 8 years old that they're re-releasing on their newest system. Like that's a pretty unique thing. So I think that's pretty cool.
It is, and they didn't just add new areas with the existing systems. Like you still use the cat suit and all that stuff, but they added. Like to me, this was probably a ton. This was probably a lot of work getting everything from the new Bowser to all the different things they add in Bowser's Fury. You should try it out to see all the different stuff they add. None of this was just like copy and paste from Mario 3D World. Some of it was, but a lot of it was new. It's cool. It's really cool. Yeah, I like it. And Derek, you are right. Like the opening of this year isn't a complete "I'll never touch my Switch, this all sucks" type of a year. Like between Mario and Bravely Default, and then Monster Hunter, they're keeping us busy for the first few months, which is good. But I guess in my mind, I was just expecting a big heavy hitter. That's all. What about you, Dan? You playing this one yet?
No, not yet. I was thinking of grabbing it. Maybe Renee's birthday is in a few weeks, so I was thinking maybe that'd be something. I mean, it's technically for both of us, so I don't know if she would just be like, "You're really buying this for both of us, aren't you?" But I mean, she likes, we like playing, our games together, co-op games, so on and so forth. So.
Yeah, I think it's a good one. I think it's a good one for co-op too, because it doesn't. I think part of why a lot of people like it too is because it's not frustratingly challenging. It's not super easy necessarily. Some parts are difficult.
Yeah.
But it is not. It doesn't overwhelm you with the challenge. And some Mario games do have a little bit of a challenge spike that comes out of nowhere. And this one so far doesn't really have that. So cool. Yeah, I'm digging that one. That one's on my regular rotation at the moment. Since we talked, and we talked about this briefly during our Game of the Year stuff, but I thought I'd bring it up to see if you, especially you, Derek, had any updated thoughts. Because I had finished the medium and kind of gave my overall thoughts on this game. I'm glad it was free on Game Pass, a service I already pay for, so I'm glad I got to download it, play it, experience it, and then uninstall it. It's not something I would have been super happy spending much money on. I don't think it's super expensive, though. Isn't this one $50?
It's $50, but you could buy it for $45 when it first came out.
Yeah, okay. Or just on Game Pass for free. But so my experience with it was interesting stories, some truly creepy moments. I think we talked about how Troy Baker does the villain's voice, and he's really creepy. He does a good job with that. I liked the story. I liked the way it wrapped up. But it also wasn't all that fun to play. Like I found it to be pretty dull to play. The quote-unquote puzzles weren't puzzles so much as they were just like, we want you to run back and forth in this hallway 3 times to pick something up and then go put it over here, and then that door will open. So not super creative in that sense. Like I wouldn't even call it a puzzle game. It was more of a walking simulator with a few moments of, some stealth, I guess. You just kind of have to stay out of view of a big monster for a little bit. So.
Do you fight any monsters? I thought I heard that you do fight some of them.
No, you don't really fight. There's just a couple of moments where you can do a little bit of shielding, things like that kind of destroy them. But yeah, no fighting, no combat really to speak of.
They don't seem to be into that.
Did you finish it, Derek, and did you like it?
No, I got 3 hours in and I gave up because I was just like, this isn't fun.
Yeah, it's not super fun. Switching back and forth between the two realms does provide with some interesting, I can't access that in this realm, but in this realm that door is open. So some of those mechanics were like, that's an interesting idea, but it never really made me go, oh my gosh, that was so creative and amazing. It was like, that's cool. So
I just really don't understand why they couldn't, like they literally could have nailed a Resident Evil experience with this and had their own unique twist with the multiple worlds by having maybe in real world she has an actual gun, in the spiritual world she has like a spiritual gun or something.
Well, I was literally just saying because like it's the Bloober team or Bloober something, right? It's a weird name. The actual team.
Doing, like,
what are they? Layers of Fear. There was no combat in those games, right? They don't seem to.
Or the Blair Witch game too, I think.
Yeah. Did that have combat?
No.
Like, yeah, they don't seem to do combat. Like, it seems like they just kind of do more like an experience. Like it's horror experiences than survival horror. So.
But I hate that.
Which is fine. It's just. that's what they made. That's what they tried to make. That's what they did make, and that's just going to make some folks. And I think Derek and I are in that boat. Go, oh, that wasn't super fun to play. So
Yeah.
But what is really fun to play is Hitman 3, which is not a super long game. You can get through the missions relatively quickly if you want to. I think the story wraps up in a cool way. I love that you can go back and play Hitman 1 and 2, depending on what platform you had those on, within this game. And they do have upgraded visuals. Some of the areas are kind of tweaked and in some cases even fixed a little bit to go a little more smoothly. But it's just so much awesome stuff to do in there. And they have these really fun side missions like snipers. You can be a sniper on a couple different levels, and they have all these challenges involved with that. They have escalation missions, which are basically brand new targets in familiar areas, and it gets increasingly more difficult. Like, don't climb on any gutters or you fail, things like that. So they've got all kinds of different modes and fun stuff. If you like the Hitman gameplay, which I do, I think Hitman 3 is just excellent.
The second level, Tim, that's a pretty cool level.
Yeah. Oh, did you play that one? Yeah.
No. Well, so I really want to get it. I have the second one, but I haven't even played it yet.
Got it.
But I'm like more excited to finally get into it with this one having come out, because I watched the Easy Allies. They did the like group stream, 2-hour group stream, and they were playing it, and they were going through that second level there. It's a mansion. I'll just say it's a mansion. I won't say anything else, but it's not just like the typical Hitman kind of formula.
Right.
It's very cool.
Although if you want to play it like a typical Hitman, you can.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
You can just sneak in, get the job done, and get out of there. But you can also go in there, like the obvious and easiest costume to get is right out of the gate at the beginning. Become the private investigator.
Yes.
You just have to follow him into the house. He goes off alone, off in the hallway for a second. Strangle him, dump his body, put on his outfit, and then boom, you are now trying to solve a legitimate murder mystery, and it's just fun. It's just real good fun.
Everyone's comparing it to Knives Out.
Yeah, it's got that same vibe. Yep.
So, yeah, very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Some cool twist stuff at the end, story-wise too. The story is a little hard to follow when you just play one game at a time, but now that all three are together and you can see how it all flows, it's actually a really cool story. Like, Hitman games are all about creative assassinations and helping you use the environment in some wacky ways. Dropping the chandelier on somebody or poisoning their sushi or whatever the thing is that you're going to do.
Yeah.
Push them off a balcony. So there's all kinds of different things you can do to kill the characters, and that part by itself makes for a fun game. But the story is actually pretty interesting. If you care about a dark world of espionage story. Again, I like that it doesn't take itself too seriously. Like, the character of 47 is very serious, but I think they know they're making kind of a cheesy spin on a James Bond style, which is funny because they're going to make James Bond.
I'm very excited about that, yeah.
But it's not so cheesy that it makes you cringe. It's more just like a little bit by the book, but fun. It's kind of like when you go into watching an action, like you're going to watch Fast and Furious, you know what you're going to get. You're going to get straightforward car chases, crazy action, people surviving crashes they definitely shouldn't. And Hitman is kind of the same way, where it's kind of like, oh, there's a twist here or whatever. Or he is somehow good at every job, which to me is just funny. Like, any costume that you put on now, you're an amazing waiter or masseuse or psychiatrist or musician or whatever it is that you're dressing up as.
Yeah.
You're good at that thing. And I think it's kind of tongue-in-cheek, fun, silly.
They've created the scenarios, but there's so many that they've created that it almost feels like sandboxy. That it's just like, enter the area, and then you have all these like deviating paths of how you want to approach a situation, and it's super cool, because then it's like, well, I want to go back and do that completely different, like, you know. So
it definitely is very sandboxy. Everything from electrifying the lead singer of a band, you're trying to assassinate him, so you sneak in there as one of the tech guys and you mess with the equipment till it shot. Like, could be anything.
Yeah.
And it's very, very fun. I like it a lot. And you also can, if you want to, just bring in your silenced pistol and kind of run and shoot your way through real quick and get out of there if you want to. The shooting isn't too bad. It's not the strength of the game. But.
Right.
All right, we'll close out with any thoughts that I think, Derek, you're the only one who's played this, so I'll throw it to you. What do you think so far about Persona 5 Strikers? This to me was kind of a surprise game that I think they announced, and now this coming week are releasing relatively quickly. There hasn't been a lot of build up to this game. What do you think about it so far?
So it actually releases Tuesday the 23rd. Like, that's the main release.
Yeah.
But if you bought like the digital deluxe, which I bought it on PC, so I got it for the same price as the regular game, but I get access to a bunch of DLC stuff, but also I get access to the game 4 days early. So I did launch it on PC, which I guess I could share now. I did get my new PC, so I have the RTX 3090 PC. I can run everything at ultra and hit amazing frames per second. So I put this game on, and I'll be honest, I didn't buy Persona on PC because I was like, it's gonna be amazing looking. In fact, when I first booted it up, I'm like, oh, it's probably gonna be such a letdown compared to what I've been playing. I'm wrong. Like, maybe it's also my OLED, because the OLED screens are all about making the blacks look black, and Persona has a lot of black. So when I booted it up, like, I was actually blown away by how good the game looks. It runs good on PC. The combat is kind of like
Dynasty Warriors.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was gonna say Calamity Wars or whatever, Hyrule Calamity, the most recent Nintendo game. So, I'm kind of over those type of things. Like, those games never last forever for me. Like, I liked Hyrule because I was like, oh, cool, they tie it into Zelda, and they're doing the same thing with Persona. You can literally do like special moves and stuff like that, like you're doing in their turn-based games, while you're just obliterating 100 gazillion enemies like over and over. But it runs smooth, looks good. The reviews I watched, and I watched a few of them, said that it's still a pretty long game. Like, you can play this game for like 40 hours. It's not as long as Persona 5, but that it has a good plot. Like, it feels like, well, it's not a full-fledged Persona 6 sequel or something like that. It feels like it is a sequel to where Persona 5 left off.
Well, I think it takes place it's right after, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but I'm saying, like, as far as, like, it's not shallow, like, bullcrap side story. Like, they make it into a full-fledged, like, mystery type, whatever, what they do. So that kind of, as I was playing, I was like, oh god, this makes me want to go beat Persona 5. But again, Persona 5 just feels like forever away. Like, I'm actually halfway through the game, but that first half took forever, so I know the second half.
Is that a game that you could pick up after having been away from it for so long and go and run with, you think?
I mean,
it is, because I do it out all the time. Like, I'm over 40 hours into it, and I've taken probably 5 or 6 breaks from that game. Like, I'll go away for like 6 months, and then I'll come back and play 10 hours, and then go away for 6 months and play 10 hours. Well, I'm actually in the 4th dungeon at the very end. Like, I have to open the last door. So I would have to look at a guide, because I have no idea what I'm doing to open that last door. But for the most part, as far as combat, characters, stuff like that, no, I can pick up on it. It's not.
It'll be interesting to see if you playing Strikers does make you go back to it for a little while. Yeah.
We'll see. I'm still working through Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Although without spoiling it, and you guys can tell me if this is the ending y'all are talking about. Well, let me see how I can say it without spoiling it. And don't elaborate. Just say, yep. You hit.
Well, and you can ask after the call too on more specifics.
Yeah, but I basically got to where I sit down with, is it Siegfried or whatever his name?
Sigurd.
Sigurd.
I sit down with Sigurd, and he goes over my choices in life, and let's just say Sigurd did not like my choices.
I figured as much.
So that is where I'm at. No credits rolled or anything, but I know there's more to do, but I was also like, that felt like that was the ending for that. And that was what I was doing in the game for the most part.
Well, we can confirm afterwards if you've hit some of the major, both modern day and England day moments. But yeah, that's at least towards the end, if not the end. I'm trying to remember exactly is said there. But
so that's where I'm at. At least I know I'm getting there, and I felt like I was, because the last like area before you go with Sigurd, like feels like story after story. It's not,
Yeah.
hey, go take over this territory and take forever.
Yeah, it's clearly moving the plot along.
Yeah.
Right.
So, anyways,
I did like. Well, I don't want to spoil anything. It's such a long game. Folks are going to be still finishing this game throughout all of 2021. So I do want to be careful about spoiling it because I think there are some cool things they do with the story, even though it's frustratingly drawn out. I get that, but I think there's some cool stuff they do. But we'll talk about those later. All right. Anything else that you guys want to cover? Whether it's some news that I forgot or a game that you're playing before we wrap it up.
no.
I'm almost done with my hard playthrough of 7 Remake. So I'm at Shinra headquarters, so I'm almost there.
Dang. Has it been difficult, or are you so good at it that?
So, like, it's not so much hard difficult as it is kind of just like purposefully frustrating difficult. So, and when you play through the hard difficulty, you can't use items at all,
What?
whether in combat or out of combat. So you're
That does
wondering.
not sound like the best game of 2020.
Well, you don't have to play on hard, but so you wonder. It's like, well, how am I supposed to heal myself? So they do have some ability materia. The yellow materia, there's prey, and then there's chakra, I think it is.
Yeah.
That you can use to heal yourself, which you use the ATB meters for. So you have to build those up. So you kind of have to balance making sure you're not taking a lot of damage, building up those meters to be able to heal. You can use your healing materia, but then you're going to run out of MP, and then you don't have any items to refill your MP.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the tricky balance with the hard difficulty. So there's been definitely mostly the boss fights have been the most challenging parts. Not all of them, but some of them. But yeah, it's not smooth sailing like it was just on normal difficulty. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Only other thing I'm playing somewhat regularly is still Sea of Thieves. I'm still.
Did you and Gaston play that the other day? Because he kept.
Yeah, I played with Derek.
Wants to play.
Played with Derek and Jesse too. Here's the thing about Sea of Thieves: if there's only 1 out of 4 people who actually want to play the game, it's just not going to be that fun. So then there's one person trying to convince everyone that, like, all right,
we're
talking
about that guy right there. Are you talking about him?
Derek was a good enough sport to stick around for a little while.
Okay.
Yeah, but I was complaining, and Tim even said he did his little passive aggressive. He's like, wow, this is really fun when somebody's just complaining the entire time.
It really is.
I'll log off in a little bit, but let me just remind you, Tim, this is a trash game. It's a trash game.
It is definitely not a trash game, but I will say this.
It should be our Xbot, not me.
To be fair, it is not a great single player game, but I'm having fun because I missed all the bonus stuff they've been rolling out over the last couple of years. I think they're coming up on their 3rd anniversary, and they rolled out tons of like they're called Tall Tales content, where basically it's these story type missions that you go through. I didn't realize how good they were. They're voice acted. You actually are trying to track down an actual boss skeleton that's really tough to kill. It's like a raid type boss, but you can solo it. It kind of balances it out for a solo adventurer. So it's not impossible to play by yourself. I also took on Flameheart's ghost fleet that was surrounding an island I had to get to. And for a mission, I was like, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to start fighting these ships. I'm tired. I don't care if they sink me. I'll just be done for the night. And I was able to take them on and take them down because, again, they nerf it a little bit for solo players.
Okay.
So I'm on my little ship that's super nimble, only has 1 cannon on each side. So it took me a while, but that kind of stuff was a blast for me. And like there was a mission where you had to use your book and this special magical telescope to look at the constellations to guide yourself to the right island. And you have to follow these series of riddles and then map up. You have to like find the spot where if you hold up that telescope and you see this bird constellation, it has to land right on top of the mountain the way you're looking at it. And then that's when you know when to dig. To me, all that stuff was super creative. I found it to be very fun, but I totally get how it's like it's not going to be for everybody. But that's the kind of I'm still trying to find the right folks to match up with that really enjoy playing it.
I'm still trying to find anybody who wants to play Dead by Daylight. It literally hasn't happened yet.
I hear you, man.
I just want to murder.
Play our swimming in sevens, and no one wants to play with us. I hear you.
I just want to murder.
I'm playing another swimming in sevens, and that's World War Z or whatever.
Yeah, man, that's a great example of a swimming in sevens, where it's like It's not an amazing game, but it certainly is fun. And if you like killing hordes of zombies, it does that for you a lot.
Like I wish I had somebody to play with. Ain't got nobody to play with.
I played it with you once and was like, eh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then Derek was like, Tim, this isn't fun when someone just keeps complaining the whole time. Actually, Derek would never say that. He's not passive aggressive like me. Well, thank you guys for listening this week. He's just aggressive, yeah. Aggressive
and sleepy.
Aggressive.
Or fussy.
It's been nice to chat about gaming news and recent games we're playing and not try to rank stuff. We just get to talk about it and then call it a day.
We didn't even talk about the games we're most anticipating.
Yeah, let's get to that next week. We'll do it because I think Bravely Default is the main game coming out this week. That's the only one I probably would have listed as an honorable mention of something I'm excited about. So, yeah, let's get to most anticipated next week. But all right, that does it for us this week. We'll see you guys.